Well, first, in breaking news this evening, actor Gene Hackman and his wife and dog have been found dead in their New Mexico home. The Santa Fe Sheriff's Office says the bodies of the 95-year-old and his 63-year-old wife were discovered at their Santa Fe residence on Wednesday afternoon local time. It says foul play is not suspected, but the exact cause of death has not been determined. In a career that spanned more than 6 decades, Hackman received 2 Academy Awards, 2 BAFTAs, 4 Golden Globes, and a Screen Actors Guild Award. And for more on this, I'm joined by pop culture journalist Paul Verhoeven. Paul, good to have you with us on the program. Now, this must surely come as a big shock to Hollywood, given the circumstances surrounding his death.
Yeah, he's been retired for quite a while. And I think what people were so sad about is that he seemed to know when to step back. In 2008, he retired from acting. He dabbled a little bit, wrote some books, did some documentaries. But I think he was a really healthy example of when it's okay to, step back and say, I've had enough. So this news is really shocking.
Yes, I mean, he's been retired for more than 20 years, but, he's still on the screen on televisions when they play reruns of Superman and Mississippi Burning. So how will Gene Hackman be remembered?
Well, he's probably going to be remembered in part, at least, for his breakout role, which was in 1971. He played Jimmy Popeye Doyle, who was this incredibly abrasive detective in The French Connection. And it actually bagged him an Academy Award for Best Actor. But it was this sort of quality he has that makes him so watchable. He was incredibly gritty. He used to be a Marine, as you mentioned before. In fact, he used the GI Bill to actually study journalism and TV. And he was the 6th person to be cast as Popeye Doyle. 5 other people said no to the role. And it's that kind of perseverance and tenacity that he infused every role with.
Yes, and is that why he has this reputation as one of the best tough guys in Hollywood?
Yeah, I think he's an interesting tough guy in that he has such a nice face. He had this beautiful, friendly, affable face, a big moustache, but it didn't mean that he wasn't up for playing bad guys. Of course, he played comic book villains. He played Lex Luthor in the Superman films. In fact, he only agreed to do the film if the director Richard Donner shaved off his moustache. So Gene shaves off his moustache, rocks up to the set. Richard Donner reveals that his moustache was actually fake the entire time. That didn't go down particularly well. But then he ended up playing very dark iterations of bad guys, like in Unforgiven in the 90s. Incredibly brutal stuff. He was capable of a great swath of roles.
Yes, as you mentioned, his capabilities to do so many roles. He played more than 100. So what are some of his unique qualities that he possessed to really stand out in such a tough industry over, a career spanning so many decades?
I think he had a really wonderful knack for choosing interesting roles. Francis Ford Coppola did a bit of a passion project between Godfathers 1 and 2 called The Conversation, about basically a sound guy who goes slowly mad because he thinks he's heard a murder. Hackman dove into this role with very little budget, very little background. It's become one of his best roles. And then you flash forward to the 90s, and he has the nous to play an incredibly sleazy film producer in Get Shorty. He was in a wonderful a drama about the Ku Klux Klan alongside Willem Dafoe called Mississippi Burning. He was brave. I mean, maybe that's the Marine in him, but he was an extremely brave performer who wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty or look bad.
Okay, of course, Gene Hackman has graced our screens for so many decades, but what do we know of him behind the camera?
He was an extremely private person. He married Betsy Akamara, his wife, in 1981. She was a pianist at the time. I think she was 63. So they got married. He was a very private guy, but he was also a very passionate creative. So he did he kept his fingers in lots of different pies, working in the documentary field, lots of non-fiction. But yeah, like I said before, he did retire and seemed like he was having a grand old time. Obviously, he's got a lot of friends in Hollywood. Once we learn more, we're probably going to get a more three-dimensional picture of the impact this has had. But I think what people are going to remember the most is his body of work, which, as you mentioned, is staggering. It's absolutely huge.
Well, okay, it's clearly going to be a very sad time for Hollywood. Paul Verhoeven, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you very much.